In April of 2017, DC announced they'd be releasing a new streaming service that would contain a collection of their movies, shows, comics, and other exclusive content. This was met with immediate backlash, as many people found themselves asking, what kind of dumbass would pay for that? I paid for that. DC then followed up this announcement with a Comic-Con trailer for their first exclusive show, Titans. It was laughable, to say the least.
Fuck Batman.
DC had just started to stray away from its dark and gritty movie phase, and Titans seemed to be going right back to where they went wrong. But despite all the show had going against it, audiences were surprised when early reviews claimed that the show was pretty good. About a month later, the show finally aired, and it seemed as if critics were right. At first. I don't want to make this video just me tearing apart a DC show, considering I am a big fan of DC Comics, so I figured it's best to start off talking about the things that I liked about Titans. Titans may be a darker adaptation of the Teen Titans, but it actually knows how to use its TVMA rating to its advantage. Titans doesn't feel like any of DC's other shows. It's a mesh of all sorts of genres ranging from drama to sci-fi and even horror. There's actually quite a bit of horror elements in the show, especially revolving around Raven, who is basically the daughter of Satan. And I know there is a DC character already named Satan, but come on, Trigon, Satan, same thing. Each character comes from a very different background, and the show takes its sweet time to develop each character as they slowly come together to form a team. I also really liked all the characters and felt that the moments where we just got to see them interact with one another was some of the show's highlights. Anna Diop as Corey and Ryan Potter as Beast Boy were the standouts to me, and I really would have liked to see them get more time to interact. Something that a lot of people seem to hate that I was actually rather fond of was the idea of Batman being a violent psychopath. I felt the show played with this idea in a really interesting way by exploring the psychological damage that Batman's bad parenting had on Dick. Sure, it may have dragged on way too long, but I appreciate the direction they went and am glad they didn't decide to play it too safe. The show also does a great job at setting up the world for potential spin-offs. Hawk and Dove ended up being some of the best characters in the show, and whenever the show chose to spotlight a lesser-known DC character, I knew it was going to be an enjoyable episode. Now on to the problems with this show. The trouble with Titans. Where do I begin? Titans is a show that really struggles with finding an identity. At first, the main focus of the show appears to be on Raven, as Robin has to save her from the cult that's after her. As Starfire and Beast Boy are introduced, you assume that's going to be the point where the show takes off and the Titans are formed, but that never really happens. Instead, the show decides to focus most of its time on either Robin or side characters that have little to do with the show's ongoing events. At first, I really liked Robin's ongoing story, but after a while, it really irritated me. We all know that it's building up to Dick Grayson becoming Nightwing. That part is obvious to anyone who's ever touched a comic, but the show still decides to put heavy focus on it as if the audience is completely oblivious to what it'll lead to. I would have liked to see the other characters get more focus in the second half of the show, especially Beast Boy, who, while being my favorite, doesn't have much of a reason for being there. Corey's story is another example of something that anyone familiar with Teen Titans has already predicted. She starts off as a character who has lost her memory and is slowly putting together the pieces. It's not till episode 10 that Corey realizes she's an alien from another planet, and that's really about it. With so much buildup, I assumed they were going to do something a bit more creative with her alien origin, and they do try with her being sent to destroy Raven, but it's all just build up with little to no payoff. The fact that a lot of the best episodes were the ones not about the Titans was another issue I had. It was so rare that we got to see the Titans all together, and it just felt like the writers kept coming up with excuses for Robin to leave as to drag the plot out further. Going into spoiler territory, the season finale is probably the biggest fuck you to fans who watched it, and by that I mean there really is no ending. At least, I can't really call it a season finale because it wasn't meant to be, and it really shows. From what I've read online, there was originally meant to be 13 episodes, but after reshoots the show was cut down to 11. According to the showrunner Greg Walker, they felt Trigon would work better as a show opener to start off the second season, but to me it felt more like a desperate last-minute attempt to make sure DC Universe subscribers would stick around for another year. Though to be perfectly honest, I think that decision had the opposite effect. I can see a lot of people leaving this service after that final episode. I've also heard things about the show originally giving the other characters more to do, but cutting all of that stuff out in order to put more focus on Robin, which really does bum me out because that's exactly one of Titans' most fatal flaws. As much as I wanted to love Titans, there came a point where I had to accept it just wasn't the show I was hoping it would be. It's not a bad show, as there's plenty of things I enjoyed about it, especially in its first few episodes, but deciding to put too much focus on characters that didn't need it is really what hindered my enjoyment overall. I'm not done with Titans yet. I'm still gonna give it a watch in its second season and just hope that they learn from their mistakes. If not, there's still plenty of other shows coming to the DC Universe app that I am really looking forward to. Chances are at least one of those will be good, so until then, I'll be hoping for the best. I hope to see you all again soon. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.